Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to part 2 of our SUSA SuperNationals 26 Debrief podcast, where we review this last weekend's event, the capper of the Superkarts USA program for 2023. My name's Rob Howden. That over there, we changed spots yesterday. David Cole. We were, of course, both trackside all weekend long. Nate Dean and Betsy Gallagher were there with us, too, cranking out some fantastic social media throughout the weekend. Had a great opening debrief, David, which was awesome yesterday. If you haven't seen that yet, folks, you can go get that on YouTube. It's available there. This will be available on YouTube, and then will be turned into a podcast as well. But we got a good show for us here. We got a couple drivers lined up, potentially 3. We may even open the door for if anybody else, if they want to come on as well, drop us a DM. We can give you the if you're a racer, we can give you the link to come in. But otherwise, David, all told, good weekend.
Yeah, good weekend. Yeah, if you were a racer in any of the categories we're going to talk about here today, again, it's all senior categories and the junior categories. So again, if you have the opportunity, you're watching, send us a message on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. And if we deem you as a potential guest, we'll slide you the link to come in. And again, it's Friday night. We're not doing anything, obviously, because we're doing the show.
We're still resting.
We're still resting. We're trying to catch up from a week in Vegas. Like some of our guests are catching up from multiple weeks in Vegas as you had the Rock Cup USA event. And some people are even still there. One of our guests is actually flying into Vegas, back to Vegas. So still kind of questioning on if they'll show up at the end of the show, but we'll still try and get it in. But yeah, excited to kind of wrap up this year's SuperNationals. Obviously, we'll have a little bit more content on the website itself and social media, but this is kind of the final lap, if you will.
Yeah, of our entire trackside package, we did, starting off, of course, with the outlap shows and all the preview work that David did, class-by-class previews. So much work getting put in by our staff here, which they did a tremendous job. This is episode 122 of the EKN Debrief. It is Friday, November the 17th. As we said, if you have any questions, it's an interactive show. Feel free to drop those in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook right now. Again, let's get rolling on this thing right now. The SUSA SuperNationals 26, of course, from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This edition of the show brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. History, family, success. These are 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Again, folks, back at it once again. The event, the SUSA SuperNationals number 26, started back in 1997. The event this year, November 8th to the 12th, as I said, out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in a different lot than when we were there in 2021. In fact, SUSA will be going back to that area of the track, the back part of the track, for 2024 and 2025. But David, we were kind of in the front in a weird area, weird kind of layout. The weather was great throughout the entire weekend. They didn't get the best weather so far to start F1, but it was windy early. That was the one big thing that we had to deal with on Wednesday and Thursday. It was super windy.
Yes, the wind kept you cool, even though the sun was out. So when you were in the sun, it felt better, but in the shade, it just felt miserable. And again, we had to kind of hunker down some things up top in our booth area next to the VIP and grandstands. But that was kind of the only really the bad weather side of things. I mean, of course, you're in the desert at night when the sun goes down, it gets a little cool, but we expect that going in. I'm sure all the people in Vegas are feeling that this weekend for sure. But yeah, as you talk about the layout, I don't think we talked about in the first show. There was the paddock was separated. We had, where the racetrack was, and then there was essentially an A paddock, and then they had a B paddock across the street. So I don't think we quite ever had that before at the SuperNationals, because even at Sam Boyd Stadium, all the paddock was together. The racetrack went far away to where you couldn't see it. So it's got kind of similar to this, but yeah, I think that was the only negative in terms of the location. Is that the paddock was separated. So there's a lot of times, again, this is almost like a family reunion for the sport. So, if you don't happen to pass by any of those people in the B paddock, the only time you'll see them is if you're in the same class, or if you're standing in the grandstands. You don't pass by a lot of people. So I think a lot of that was missed. I think that was a kind of the atmosphere missing thing about the Super Nationals, because again, it is like it's a reunion of karting. Everybody comes together. Sometimes you don't see anybody except for at the Super Nationals. So
That's true.
that's
I didn't. There was a bunch of people I think I bumped into maybe because
right.
they were on the far side. We were 9 to 6 nonstop. And then we went home and agreed.
I mean, because if they don't come up to the grandstands by where we are or the VIP area, we don't see them. Or if, we don't see them walking out to the car or walking back in from In-N-Out lunch, stuff like that. So, thankfully it'll be back again. And if we had to go back to that location, there's obviously different ways of laying this out. I think that would have worked better. But again, you don't know until you've been there. And so now SCUSA has one time there. If they happen to have to go back there, then they kind of have an understanding of how everything would flow better.
So we talked about yesterday in the By the Numbers that there was 520 total entries. And again, David using the numbers of guys that actually took qualifying. So we use that number as opposed to a number that come out through entries. The 4 categories we did yesterday, the 2 Masters classes and the cadets, all were single groups, all of them over the 44 max, just based on the way the SCUSA has more guys come in because they were expecting cancellations. So great numbers in those. Dave, same as we looked at KA 100 Junior, it was awesome. Didn't quite get to that 88 mark, the double, 78 there, 44 in the single class X30 Junior, so a full field. Obviously, the biggest category was KA 100 Senior at 84, which is massive. The seniors at 62. And man, anytime you see over 60 shifters, I think it was 71 at one point, ended up being 67 taking time. So a 67 kart grid LCQ for pro shifter. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, that's the wild one. Again, we had our first LCQ for that category in quite some time last year. And this year lived up to the hype. And again, I don't think we talked about it in the first show, is the SCUSA roll-off, the Super Sunday roll-off. That's true. We didn't do that. But we didn't have any categories that were in LCQs. Also, all the 4 of the LCQs were in these categories. The only one that didn't was X30 Junior, as you said. That was limited to 44, which was right where they were at. But K100 Junior, K100 Senior in the morning had roll-offs, and then X30 Senior and Pro Shifter had roll-offs in the evening. I think the evening ones certainly were hyped up way more than the morning ones. Now, be it we had the wrong location. We thought being in the VIP room would be good, but the way everything was laid out in there, it just didn't have that feel that Chris Egger was trying to do with this activity and this one final chance for somebody to get into Super Sunday. So when we moved it to the bleachers, which is where we got to do it every year now, the MPG crew certainly helped with their music. I think Kart Chaser had music pumping as well too. So it had a good vibe, and there was a lot of excitement, especially when the roll is a little bit higher than a 7.
So if you don't know what the roll-off was, Chris Aaron came up with this idea. Obviously, the LCQ, top 6 drivers from the LCQ transfer into the main event. Well, 7 to 10 still had a shot because they came up with these aluminum dice, and essentially was a roll-off. The 4 drivers, 7, 8, 9, and 10, got a chance to roll. High roll ended up being able to race. So, you didn't really race your way in, but you rolled your way in very Vegas. And in the end, Chris Egger and Bill Wright, those who've been around a long time know Bill Wright from the initial years of the Florida Winter Tour. Serious fun, Bill Wright. They put up cash. It was $500 for the 4 drivers who got in with the roll-off. The driver who made the most improvement throughout the race, $500 cash. And that went to David?
It was split. So almost kind of, almost like a poker hand. Braden Eves and Finnegan Bailiff were the 2 drivers that got in and got the same amount of positions gained in their main events. Again, Eves was the crazy one. And then I think it was Bailiff. He was in, and a pushback bumper took him out, put him down to 10th, and then was able to roll in. So kind of a emotional up and down for Bailiff, and he came away $250 richer. No doubt about it. So anyways, big numbers, as we said, good numbers, and we'll go through all the categories, but we're underway right now. 520 all total at the SuperNats 26. Debrief number 2. Don't go anywhere when we get back after this quick break. We're just doing this for the podcast. When we get back, we'll jump into the race report. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer.
With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Welcome back to our second debrief show of this year's Superkarts USA SuperNationals, number 26. To cap off our EKN trackside coverage for the entire week. It was a long, almost month-long ordeal of all the stuff that we put together, David, with all the season, all the class-by-class previews, a couple of outlap podcasts, a lot of stuff happening coming into, of course, all the work that we did throughout the week at the track, and then we've been kind of nonstop since we got back here. Time to jump into the race report. 5 categories to go through here. We do have a couple of guests waiting in the wings. Raymond Rashidi is going to join us from Catalyst Driver Development. We've also got Austin Garrison from Speed Concepts Racing. They're going to join us as well. And as we said, if you feel like you want to be on the show and you're a driver in the hunt somewhere, drop us a DM at one of the EKN accounts. Cole will be watching that. I'll grab my phone too to have a look. If we think we'd like to have you on, we're like, yeah, you know what? He might have something to say. We could throw you over the link on that one for sure. All right, let's get into the race report. Today, race report brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. It's a multi-time world champion. It's a SCUSA SuperNationals winner. It is Sodi Kart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand has found a new home here in the United States. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the Sodi Kart chassis line under the karting distribution banner. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about all the Sodi Racing chassis, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. All right, folks, we are back. Those of you may have listened to or watched our debriefs. What happens when we go through the race reports? I'll roll out the headline. David starts filling in all the meat at that point. So let's start with Pro Shifter. This was a good one for sure. Lots to chat about with this one. Here's the headline: Formal claims record-tying 4th SuperNationals triumph.
And does so without being in any of our predictions going into
Super
Sunday or going into the event, as you have seen on our social media. Excuse me. That has been the story all week long. This category had a lot of drama. There's no doubt about it. It began early in qualifying, because qualifying for Pro Shifter, the last category, Thursday evening, under the lights, quickest karts on the racetrack whatsoever, going 95, 98 miles per hour, however many they got up to. I was told maybe triple digits, but I never got a confirmation on that. So the final group goes out. They were split up into 4 different groups. Final group goes out. There was an incident coming into the opening corner. A cart actually was stalled and sitting there, and a yellow flag came out, and a really fast group was coming through. They all checked up except for one that was Albanese, who just essentially destroyed all of the barriers that were placed on the outside of the racetrack there. So essentially what was done was SCUSA went full course caution, which they would typically do during a race situation. Unfortunately, this was qualifying and the clock's ticking. And we only had, I believe, 4 minutes or 5 minutes was the official time on the session.
Yeah, essentially 5 laps.
Essentially ran 2.5, 3 minutes under full course caution and threw a checkered flag. And so literally nobody got a flying lap because of the situation. SCUSA debrief. They obviously heard the racers. All the racers were like, we need to go back out. We'll just all go out right now as long as we can check our tire pressure. That's the feeling I got sitting there in the scale line, listening to all of them. And Remo was one of them that was there talking. And I think Formal was kind of the leader because he could speak a lot of different languages and was listening to everybody. But yeah, SCUSA, they debriefed. I think it was maybe an hour after their session. They were allowed back on the racetrack, no changing whatsoever. Maybe tire pressure was the only allotment they were allowed to change. And the karts went back out there, and it was Jacob Gulick that was able to score quickest lap time.
Before you roll out there, Luis Speck from the second race group. So the first, I think it was third. First to fourth. Yeah, second on the racetrack, third fastest, right? So essentially the third group, but the second out on the racetrack, the third group of fastest. He was the fastest driver for Race Lab on a TB kart, so it looked big. We had thought it was done. They did an interview with him. He's going to be P1. SCUSA changes, and again, allowing them to come back out on track.
Yeah, so they do a secondary session for the faster group from practice, and it was Jacob Gulick laying down the quickest lap with a 42.150, and that was 94 thousandths quicker than his teammate, GFC teammate of Kyle Wick. Remo was in third, Matteo Vijano in fourth, and then AJ Myers, the fast 5. So no Formal, he was actually 17th in qualifying. So even after Thursday and our predictions, I think everybody was safe to say Formal's not winning this, right?
All the chatter, right? Yeah.
Now we can say this because he loves it when we rag at him. So that
he does.
I don't want anybody to come down on us to that. So
no, I had a good DM conversation with Daniel on Sunday and Monday. It was awesome. Yeah.
And so the heat racing began, and I'm trying to think which one was Wick in. He was in the second of the first heat. So the first heat was won by Jacob Gulick, and the second heat would have been won by Kyle Wick. Unfortunately, on the last lap, a broken chain took him out of the race, and that allowed Martin Kremers to score the victory. We go into heat number 2. Later in the day, AJ Myers and then Wick score victories. So we had 4 different winners in the 4 heat races. Well, Myers ends up winning on Saturday evening, his second win in the third heat race, and then Emilian Denner came away with the other heat race. So we had 5 different drivers with wins over the 6 heat races. So again, still, there really wasn't a dominating performance. There was a lot of drivers that showed speed throughout this event, and there was a lot of different drivers in contention. When all said was done, Myers with his 2 heat wins put himself on the pole position alongside Jacob Gulick, Martin Kremers, and Emilian Denner in the second row. And then Formal with, where's his result? 2nd, 4th, and 5th. That put him into the top 5 and put him alongside Remo Ruskiddy. So a pretty solid top 6 there going in the main event, Rob.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think that Formal's moving forward was big. Obviously, they had things rolling. It was going well for him. You can't say enough about Jacob Gulick. He was really, really good throughout the time. Showed great speed there as well after qualifying on pole. But for me, coming into Sunday, I don't know about you, but I felt like Myers had the momentum. I felt he came out, he was confident, qualifying on pole. Everything was kind of going the direction he wanted. And again, out of the gate, David, he got the whole shot. That's the way it seemed to happen. He was kind of pulling away a little bit and was getting comfortable.
But and got some help too. Got some help because there was an incident in turn 1. Emilian Denner got spun around sideways and literally got driven over. I believe by an Ital kart. I'm not sure which driver that was.
It might have been Lewinsky, I think.
Yeah, so it was a pretty hard run over. He got up, got away, but obviously disappointed ending his main event in the opening corner.
Indeed, as we said early on, Myers took the lead, got comfortable, but then here came Danny Formal and here came Gulick. And it seemed to me, I kind of went back and watched a bit of it during the week, and he just, a lot of times, every time he got past, it was coming down in turn number one where he just couldn't get the thing to, almost like he tried to point it down and it had like an entry understeer, and he would miss that turn in and allowing guys to come in the inside of him.
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting to watch. And Myers it felt like he didn't have the exit speed coming out of a lot of the corners, where Formal looked like he was glued. Like it almost was just like, there was a big difference there, and you see some of the coverage, and especially on the racetrack as well too. So eventually Formal was able to take over the lead on lap 9, and that was the as you would say, TSN turning point of the race, as he essentially drove away from the rest of the pack and got out to a pretty solid lead. Kremers was the driver on the move behind him, and he was able to get into the second spot. And I want to say the gap was about 2.5 to 3 seconds at that time. Kremers just not able to cut into the lead. So allowed Formal to basically run unchallenged to what is a record-tying 4th victory at the SuperNationals.
Yeah, pretty amazing for him. And obviously the emotion overflowing the cart coming at you and I a little bit there, which I thought was fantastic.
I think it was
coming
you.
to me. It was well, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it was obviously great for him. Four wins. And listen, you go back to some of the guys that have won 4. It's Masters racing. Not taking anything away from Kip Foster. It's Connor De Felipe, Jicka, 80 Jr. Obviously
S2 and S1.
S2 and S1, which S1 was one below when he won the S1. It wasn't Super Pro. Yeah. So you've got Billy Musgrave with 4, right?
3,
one was an S2 though. Yeah,
one was an S2, 3 S2. In the Pro Shifter.
So this is a guy that essentially, if you bring all the 4-timers together, guy's got 4 headline KZ wins, right?
Yeah.
What was it? One
S2 of them are S1.
2 of them are
still, that was the headline.
What was the headline class at that point?
Exactly that. Of Superkarts USA.
Yeah. So all in all, Kremers ends up coming home in the second spot. Vagano in third, Myers 4th, and Raymond Rushidi, who will be joining us here, coming home P5. What was a fantastic drive, all told.
5 different countries represented on the podium.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. No,
Don't ask me to name them. What are they?
Costa Rica.
That's right.
Netherlands, Italy, USA, and Canada. Come on. Yeah. It's been. I think it's been a while since we've had a Canadian on the headline podium.
We'd have to go back to that, right? For sure.
I don't have that stat.
David. So one thing we'll do, guys, throughout this, we did this yesterday as well. As you guys all know, obviously the predictions that we made were one of the things that had Danny Formal all fired up, which was great. So we kind of went through each class by class predictions. Pretty amazing. Like, we smoked ourselves from last year. We struggled last year. This year, even though I got beat pretty much almost, I think I won 2 classes. David and Nate yesterday picked essentially almost 1 class each, almost completely correct. Four guys out of the 5, all in their right spots.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. That's this unbelievable. This one, because in this one, David, you got me in this one. Yeah, you beat us in this one.
This was the complete opposite, because I only had 1 driver in the top 10 or top 5. That was AJ Myers, which I correctly picked in the 4th position. So I did well there, but that was it. You had 1 driver in the top 5, which was Vajano, and Nate Dean had 0. So this was the only 0 that we had out of the entire prediction. So we went big. We went Euro, because the last 2 years was all European drivers.
The last 3 years, if you go back all the last 3 years, there's always been either 3 or 4 Euros and 1 or 2 Americans. We've never had more than 2 Americans on the podium in the last number of years, right? Yeah. And it's either Formal, Myers, or Jake French. Those are the 3 drivers that have been on the podium who've been the American drivers that have been there. So
Jake French wasn't racing, so we had to go with one, either Formal or Formal. You can't really count as American because
Costa Rican. But I mean guys that are locals. Yeah. And then again, I think I saw Marion Kremers post up. Why I'm a local here. Why don't I get put in there, right? So
yeah, kind of.
Anyways,
except he had that 13-hour flight. He was literally in the seat ahead of me on the way home, connecting to Minnesota. He's like, "Yeah, I still got another 13 hours to go." I was like, "Oh, bye."
So there you go. David ends up winning the predictions for that with a whopping 3 picking AJ Myers. So yeah, we didn't do as good as we.
Every point matters, Rob.
All right, so we didn't do that well, but the guy joining us right now did do well. He's right in the middle of the hunt the entire time. Let's bring Remo Riscitti on to us here from Catalyst. Remo, thanks for joining us. The interesting thing, I don't want to throw you under the bus early, but listen, you've been doing this a long time, right?
Yeah.
You're not one of the spring chickens here. You probably, if I'm not mistaken, could you run Masters right now if you wanted?
Next year, one more. This was my last year. Maybe I'll double it up like Davide.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's that's do you feel it's one of your best performances you've had in a long time?
I felt like I've had better weekends, but maybe the result wasn't for fully there. Overall, it was just kind of although we qualified really well, I had like kind of quiet races, just stayed in the top 5 most of the weekend and all the sessions. And yeah, obviously I want more, but our first podium for myself and KZ is obviously good. And yeah.
Isn't it wild when you say you're quietly in the top 5 in a field? What we said was 67 pro shifters, and you're just quietly in the top 5. Man, you rolled off really good.
Yeah, go-kart was good right away. Myself and Mario, who was fastest at the end of Wednesday, we literally didn't change anything, just from our baseline to start the day. And power was obviously very strong. We had Mike with SRP. Was just super strong package all weekend long. Also we had so many KZ drivers driving Eiffel Kart over the weekend between the 2 tents, and it's just helpful to have a little bit more knowledge. The ratios were all over the map.
That's what I was wondering.
Through the whole weekend. It's just so it was a bit of a odd weekend because people were making different things work. So yeah.
Where were you in terms of top speed? David talked about, we heard guys say 98. Some guys were always topping at 95. We heard rumors that some guys had hit 100. Where were you guys on the data top speed?
I never saw 100, but at the end of Wednesday, I told Mario, and he hit 99.5. That was the highest I saw. So we were doing, that's pretty fast. So we were on a quite long ratio for majority of the weekend. I ended up going shorter as the weekend went on, because I felt like as the races started, I couldn't get in a rhythm with the longer gear, and I just keep getting attacked. So we went shorter as the weekend went on. It probably helped me keep the position that I did in the final. But the long ratio was like, we were talking about probably 3 or 4 mile an hour at the end of the straightaway. But the problem was you couldn't do anything with it. You'd get to as the speed would pick up when you get to 4th, 5th gear, we'd get to the point where you're kind of kinking to the left, and now you've got nowhere to go with it. So it was a weird kind of situation on the ratios throughout the weekend.
So we talked to Robbie and Master Shifter yesterday, saying he was in first gear probably 5 times. Was that the same for you guys as well too?
Yeah, I mean, on the long ratio, every single corner but one was first gear.
Wow.
The only corner that we weren't using first was I guess we were calling it the chicane, the left of the chicane.
Yeah.
But then you're boom down into to first to try to get out of there, and it made it really difficult because the gearbox on all the KZ engines, the first gear is so short, so you're grabbing it almost instantly.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to not lift off just enough to get the shift correctly, and then the engine will pop on upshift, and yeah. So we ended up going a little bit longer. That made the last couple corners shorter. Which made the last couple corners second, but it was still really tough to do it, and even more difficult when you had people behind you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the track progression a little bit. One of the things about the Evincos, as we know, they don't lay a lot of rubber down. It was more like cleaning the track off during the week. Did you find that, was there any kind of grip increase throughout the, like Saturday and Sunday?
Found it very similar to last year where I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at it's tough to say because we changed the track, but I know I checked last year, and I mean, the time from like Thursday or qualifying to the final, there was such a small gap between the 2 sessions. I think it was only 2 tenths.
Yeah.
And I think that it was I assume it's somewhat similar. It was pretty close. I guess it was a little bit quicker actually in the final, but maybe 4/10 quicker than pole. But I mean, it's not what you used to see, 10 years ago when the track would keep progressing throughout the weekend. The one thing that's made it kind of a little bit easier is when we run at the very end of the day on Sunday, everybody stickers in the morning, and then, all these classes run through. And I know in the past, back when we'd race tag, the track would grip up so much from the morning session that, you're driving a completely different go-kart at that point, where it's very similar now. You can qualify as long as you pick the air pressure, which was another story for the shifter guys. But as long as you get in the window, the kart feels quite similar to the morning.
Raymond Rashidi from Catalyst Driver Development joining us. If you have any questions for him here, you're watching the broadcast here on either Facebook or Twitter, or feel free to drop it in.
We do have a comment.
I saw that. Al Kirkwood says, "Old man, wow,
he's gonna come back."
Yeah.
Let's see if he's still got it in a go-kart.
I
know he's got an Indy car, but yeah.
So there you go, Kirkwood. We've dropped the gauntlet to have you come back and battle it out once again. That would be awesome to see him. Hey, listen, Askew came back, right? Yeah. Oliver came back.
That's right.
Did really well.
Did really well. Yeah,
that's solid.
So I looked at it. It was from qualifying to the main event fast lap was a half second better. So, and
I'm curious to know what that was in the past, but back
it's interesting to notice that the delta between that. Yeah, how the track kind of progresses. But would you say because it wasn't as technical, maybe that it's not a big difference because it was such a fast racetrack that it not necessarily all about handling. It's all about momentum and as you said, getting out of the corner better with the ratio that you're running.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that this week, as long as the kart was somewhat in the window and you had the correct jetting and ratio, I mean, you can be pretty quick. Yeah. Like I said, I didn't really change much throughout the whole weekend. Yeah. Now to come to think of it, the only thing I did was we went to a stiffer axle at some point in the weekend, but that was really the only change we made.
Wow.
It's funny that tire that it doesn't lay the grip down anymore. You notice that the difference between the two weekends in Vegas, the previous weekend with the Levanto, it lays a decent amount of rubber down. But it's after the race, you might not even be able to get any pickup if you want to go try to weigh in a little heavier, because there's not much there. It's just, actually also the tire wear was quite low as well, a low deg. We weren't really seeing much drop off on tires, not a huge amount, but yeah.
Raymond, you weren't just a driver, you're also a team owner. You mentioned Catalyst. I've talked about it a little bit. Obviously, the Italian Motors team was there as well. As a team owner, overall for Catalyst, were you pretty happy with the way your drivers did?
Yeah, we had 11 karts, including myself, under the tent. So we've grown from last year, and we'll just keep growing. And the tag program could have done better. Obviously, I always want more from that. But the shifter program obviously was really strong. Mario showed speed, as a customer under the tent for ourselves, and also the Masters guys had pretty good weekends as well. But we'll keep on going. Also, Micro Guy, one of our micros, had a really good weekend as well. So in general, yeah, I think we had a really good weekend. It's, 3 years that we've really been pushing things. So we'll keep growing and try to keep pushing. Same with the single speed stuff. Get that up to the front end of the field.
What's your plans for 2024? Where are you guys running?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Still up in the air?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of drivers who want to go race the Pro Tour stuff and maybe some stuff in Florida. So there's some possibilities there. I haven't fully gotten to grasp with what's going on with the challenge program. I know that they're trying to run some KZ stuff, and I'm not sure if I heard is there a tag class, or if it's still rock. I'm not sure. I haven't really read up on it about it, but we'll stay local for a majority of the year and try to do some regional stuff and try to get to the Pro Tour races. But it's so difficult being a West Coast team when all the races are over there. So we'll see where we end up if we have the interest to go. For myself, I want to race, obviously, and I need to race more. I said to Rob, I said to you at the end of the race before the podium, it's tough. Like I wasn't tired or anything. My fitness is there, but just the driving every weekend helps so much.
It does, doesn't it?
You know, just being there, being on top of it, knowing the jetting, knowing what your changes you're making, the racecraft. I mean, it's huge advantage to have.
And still you end up top 5. Like, again, that's just a little bit more would have had you right in the middle of the scrap.
Yeah, I was saying, I think I was counting it. I'd actually only raced 4 weekends all year.
Wow. Yeah.
Other than that, just, pound laps at the track, go do my 30 lap sessions, make sure I don't get tired.
That's it.
So,
well, listen, Rambo, congratulations to you and the team. Dave, one last question.
So it was 2012 that he did finish 5th in Tag Senior. So it's been 11 years since he was back on the podium.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
So we maybe double duty, maybe master, do the Davide foray and run Masters and Pro next year.
I don't know if I have it in me.
Exactly.
I don't know if I have it in me to run the team and do the both, but
that's it.
There you go.
Nice to think about it, but yeah.
For sure. Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. It's obviously a Friday night, like 5:30 out on the West Coast. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. And again, congratulations. Great to see you on the podium again, even though 11 years later, 29 years of age going up against the young guns. Love it, buddy. Well done.
Thanks so much, guys.
Ramo Riscitti, folks, from Catalyst on the ITAL cart, been on that program for many, many years. Of course, Catalyst, as he talked about, they put that program together over the last handful of years, and it really has developed quite a bit with he and Scott Hargrove and the guys, Stefan Brzezinski, behind that program, and awesome to see what they've been able to put together. And dude, what a drive to P5. Like he literally, again, when we talk 67 drivers, and he had a quiet run inside the top 5 all week.
I love the quiet ride. I mean, because
100%.
Not everybody's keeping an eye on you. You're you're not creeping, but you're kind of there. You're sniffing it, as they like to say about playoffs and the football program. So yeah, I mean, he was there, and I think, as he said, maybe if he had a little bit more time in the seat leading up to the event, he might have been able to be up there battling for the victory. So.
All right, folks, let's jump to our second break in the action. When we get back, X30 Senior, we'll do the full run through it. We'll talk about our predictions. Austin Garrison will be on the show as well. We'll be chatting with him right when we get done. Stay tuned. More to come.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 4-time SuperNats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com. Welcome back to the second edition of the Debrief, our race report show to wrap up our EKN trackside coverage of this year's Superkarts USA SuperNationals, number 26. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. We just had a chance to chat with Ramo Riscitti from a Catalyst, top 5 driver in the Pro Shifter category. Austin Garrison will join us in a little bit here. back into the race report, rolling into X30 Senior. Again, the race report brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. David, I'll roll the headline out. You can start filling in the gaps. This is a big one because this was a really interesting way this event started. And the headline, kind of shocking, actually, thinking of the fact of how long this category has been around. The headline for X30 Senior, Bonilla becomes 20th different winner.
Yeah, that was kind of the focal point going into the event. Was we've had 19 different winners in Tag Senior / X30 Senior, and the only driver that was going into this particular SuperNationals that had the opportunity to win a second time was Ryan Norberg. And we knew the story going in. Ryan Norberg hadn't won a race all season long, so that was kind of the focal point. But you had a very stout field going in and battling. And one of them being probably one of his lead rivals all season long. Whenever he got into the cart, Austin Garrison, he was able to put in a 46.293 lap to lead the way in qualifying. Ellie Goldstein, second, only 10 thousandths off his time. Senior rookie Ernesto Rivera, that was a story coming in as well too. He put in a third quickest time. And then Noah Baker in the Speed Concepts Racing Red Speed was fourth. And Jesus Vasquez Jr., another senior rookie in the Fast Five. So a lot of craziness in terms of who was actually the drivers that were leading the way after qualifying. You look at Norberg, he was, I got to try and find it here. I lost where he was. So seventh. So he was kind of in there in the mix a little bit. So there wasn't, that. And there's a lot of other drivers that just missed the speed a little bit in qualifying, because as we know, we talked to Austin after qualifying, the toe was a big part in single speed racing, and especially in qualifying to try and lay down a good lap. So with that, we went into the heat races. And again, we had 5 different winners in 6 heat races. So again, field wide open, especially in the opening heat race where we saw Oliver Hodgson, who we saw do really well in practice, didn't quite lay down a good qualifying lap, ended up 9th, but he raced his way up into the win in the opening heat race. Donovan Bonilla in winning the second heat race after qualifying 6th overall. And then you had the Norberg come in and get a heat race win in the second round of heat races along with Goldstein. So they were able to pick up victories. And that was actually after Norberg suffered a disqualification in the opening round of heat races. His disqualification, a notable one, because we talked about it before. I believe it was the nut, or was he a number? I'll have to look back at that.
No, he was the nut. Norberg was the nut. Okay.
So missing a second nut on his ballast.
One of the weights.
Which dropped him, gave him a disqualification. So essentially gave him last place points going into the final two heat races. So he won his second one and then went in and won a third, the final heat race for X30 Senior after Austin Garrison won the A versus B race. So again, 5 different winners in the heat races. Again, made it for kind of an open show because he didn't really know who was going to kind of step up and be the driver to beat. Hodgson had the pole position because of his consistent results. He had a first and 2 seconds. Alessandro DiTullio, who we could talk about had being consistent all season long, was right there on the outside of the front row. You had Garrison there in third, and then Thomas Naveau in fourth. Again, we hadn't talked about him all week, but he had a third, and a fifth. So again, kind of like Remo, was talking about, just kind of a quiet top 5 performance going. And then Donovan Bonilla in 5th with Hayden Jones starting on the outside in 6th. So that was a story going into the main event.
And we knew it was going to be a cage match, like where everybody was.
25 lap one.
Yeah. 20 laps for all the other categories. Pro were 25. And there was guys that were a bit further back, right? You knew were going to be coming forward. The guys up front, you talked about who were there, like a Hodgson and a DiTullio. Hodgson just seemed to have so much momentum and confidence, and he could put the cart almost anywhere on the racetrack. I would have picked on the way in. We talked about it. So I feel like the 2 pole sitters are going to win. They look so good. But knowing that Norberg was going to be able to make a move, I had won already 2 heat races, and just know I don't think I would have picked Bonilla to be in the fight, because I think I would have went Norberg, Rivera, Bonilla in terms of the pace of those drivers. But Bonilla had won a heat race too, right? So all right, let's get at it. So that's to me. I thought all bets were off coming into the main, 100%.
And it certainly was, because that's how it produced the on-track battles. Excuse me. Because it was Hodgson that was essentially leading early. but he was getting pressured by Garrison, by Jones, and Bonilla. They were essentially the lead group, 4 drivers running up front. And they went on attack on Hodgson. So Hodgson fell back, and then he would come back. And then eventually Bonilla got to the front, and that left Jones, Garrison, and Hodgson all fighting for second.
And you figured it'd still be a pack, right?
You figured that. But as they fought, Bonilla was able to lay down some clean laps.
Yeah.
And then their fighting slowed their pace. And when you do that over the course of 2 laps, it certainly helps the advantage grow. And I'm sure when we talk to Garrison, he'll kind of confirm that. He just saw Bonilla just kind of leave him as they were fighting.
And you're getting frustrated. Like, what are we doing? Why are we fighting for second? And it was pretty early not early in the race, but it wasn't the last 5 laps this happened.
It was not. No, Bonilla took over the lead at that point on lap 9 out of 25. So again, we're not even halfway, and you're letting a guy get away. Now, you know, in some of the shifter categories we saw earlier in the day, say Davide Fore, he was able to run down, but not in the single speed stuff where we had, you know, the groups kind of racing together. So maybe there might have been an opportunity to run Bonilla down. But they essentially kept fighting for second. You know, Garrison was in that along with Hodgson and Jones, and eventually Norberg came into the picture. He started again in the 18th position, was able to knife his way up there, and then got into second and then was him and Garrison. But by that time, Bonilla had over a 3-second advantage, and nobody was going to be able to catch the driver from Mexico.
The only guys that were catching were the guys that were out like 6th and 7th, started working their way forward, right? I remember calling the fact that these guys were going back and forth, and all of a sudden Ariel Elkin was like right there, because he was digging in, right? That's what the fight for second, third, and fourth brought everybody else back into the fight. Bonilla, like you said, was essentially gone. 3.3 seconds, I think he ended up winning by, because there's just literally, they never were able to get in line and mount a challenge.
No, and that's the hard part, because again, you know the way the racetrack is, the draft is very dependent. So if you do have a driver that's out there by themselves, there's an opportunity to get there, but you have to work together and be able to do that. Unfortunately, it was basically SummerSlam, like a battle royale, and everybody was going at it for themselves. So
yeah, Ryan Norberg, even with that DQ, comes back to P2. Garrison, as we talked about already, he'll join us here momentarily. He was third. Ariel Elkin, who I talked about in the TB cart, I actually picked him to be in the top 5. He stormed his way back forward and got himself up into position. Same with Harley Keeble. Keeble, I think he made a last lap pass. I think Keeble did for fifth, or late in the race. He was able to grab 5th.
Yeah, I believe it was late in the race. It was just ahead.
He might have got
6th. 7th. He was 7th. Ended up coming up to 5th. Yeah, I'll have to double check. I think there was some penalties. I'll look at that real quick.
I feel there was a couple of penalties.
Yeah, keep talking.
All right. So if we go to predictions, I'll lay the predictions out, David, because you can roll. Because I thought I was actually literally, as these races happen and they're finishing, in the back of our minds, we're still thinking, how did I do in the predictions? Did I do decently? And I'm like, I think I did okay. I'm pretty, like, I picked Keeble up. I think I picked Keeble to win. He was P5. I picked Elkins. Cole picked Goldstein. So I'm like, I know that I'm good there. I got the right TB cart driver. I picked Garrison. I'm like, I'm in good shape here. And then Cole rolls in. Like, I think he picked somebody in the right spot. That's always the BS way Cole beats me.
It was 3 drivers in the right spot. So get that correct.
You had 3 in the right spot.
Yes. So, So yeah, you had 4 in the top 10, or 4 in the top 5, and you had second place correct, and you had 4th place correct. So you did very well on that.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, Elkin was good. The Norberg was good, because that was second as well too. Unfortunately, I had 3 in the top 5, but all 3 were in the correct positions, because I had Norberg second, Garrison third, and Keeble 5th. So it was a 7th to 5th move for Keeble on the last lap, ahead of Jones and DiTullio. So
okay, there you go. Wow. All right. Well,
but yeah, and then Nate Dean sat there with only 4 points, because he had 2 in the top 5 and correctly picked Elkin in the 4th position.
All right, there you go. All right. Well, listen, we can talk all as long as you want. There was a guy that was right in the middle of in the thick of it the entire weekend. He's joining us right now. We'll bring in Austin Garrison from Speed Concepts Racing. Austin, thanks you, my friend. I know you had some dinner there. You're waiting in the wings. You're actually you've been watching the main event on Kart Chaser, the replay before you came on the show.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel now when it's all said and done? When you look back, before we dive into it, how do you feel? Are you super disappointed? Are you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, no, I watched it. Obviously, a lot of moves that happened in the back behind me and some in front of me that I wouldn't see, and I was just not happy. But can't change the past, obviously. But yeah, some of the moves that the other drivers have done, I don't really obviously like it because obviously I had to win. But yeah, some of the moves I didn't really like. Yeah, I'm still a little bit gutted over it, but it is what it is. We showed pace all weekend, so it was okay.
Let's start from the front then. Obviously, you roll off the trailer. You've got the Wednesday, Thursday, getting things dialed in with the track itself. Before we talk about the fact that you were the quickest guy in qualifying, what were your thoughts on the racetrack initially through Wednesday and Thursday? Did you feel like it was going to race well?
Yeah, I actually thought it wasn't going to race bad at all. It has like long, sweeping corners going in. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of chances and moves for drivers to go and actually put it pretty deep on the inside and all that because you got to set up so wide for all these corners. I thought the racing was going to be okay, but the long straightaway, I was like, wow, this is a very, very long straightaway. I was not expecting all that after we walked it and everything. I saw it on the track map, and I'm like, wow, this is longer than Jacksonville. And Jacksonville's huge. Yeah. So, going out there for the first practice session, all in all, it wasn't bad. It was smooth everywhere besides the very last corner that hairpin and a couple pretty nasty bumps before you made that left-hander coming out to the straightaway. So, a lot of drivers didn't, like that. I don't know anybody who enjoyed that. I don't think anybody did, but that was the only thing that I really had a fallback on was just that corner really. Everywhere else, it seemed to be okay. And glad they wouldn't change the racetrack going into corner one. So not many drivers, were, getting hurt or wrecking their go-kart and ruining their weekend going into corner one. So, kudos to Scusa for doing that. But yeah, definitely racing wise, thought it's going to race well. But yeah, those last couple of corners were a little bit tough. Definitely.
Surprised by P1 in qualifying? You had the pace, but and again with the level of competition, obviously super close up top. A 100th of a second between you and Goldstein. Were you surprised with the pace you were able to roll out?
Actually, was because I wasn't starting in the very fast group. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to be in the fast group, be in the fast group." I was out of the four groups. I was a third. I was starting second, or I think I was starting second or first, something like that. I was up front in the top three or top four. And I'm like, this isn't good. I expected to be in the fast group, but we had a read blow in the practice beforehand. So we weren't in the fast group. But yeah, so in the opening lap of that is when I let a few people go, and I was, I fell back a little bit and I caught him super fast in the opening lap. I'm like, whoa, I need to slow down and give him more of a gap. I'm like, I didn't expect him to go and catch people that fast in the out lap. So after that, perfect timing. It could have been more and more perfect, to be honest. I got a draft on both straightaways behind Keeble. Timed it just right. It just fell into my hands, and eventually ended up getting past lap. It was close though. I don't know. By the time I got to the scales, I didn't see where Ellie was. I don't know if he got a draft or I was by himself. I have no idea. But Tim was over there. He was waiting. On his phone, pacing back and forth. Like, you're still first. Walking back and forth. I'm like, oh, I pray to God I go and end up qualifying on pole, but no, I did. And I know it's going to be for sure. I was kind of just banking on like top 7, is where I wanted to go and really be. But yeah, qualifying on pole was huge. It helped out.
Listen, when you have Dave, you go.
No, I was say, go ahead.
I'm
going to talk about heat races, so go ahead.
Okay, let's cap off that then. Man, qualifying on pole, it's great to do, but it does it not just change the rest of your weekend? At least changes your Friday and your Saturday.
Right. Yeah, I'm absolutely. It's so much easier to start, first. Everybody knows that. It's just easier to set the pace out of the race, when the green flag comes. But yeah, no, starting on pole for sure. I heard a lot of carnage going on, in a few of the races, going in corner 1 and corner 2, corner 3, and I'm like, wow, thank God I'm starting first. I'm not going to hear or be in any of that stuff. Obviously it hurt drivers. Ellie, I think he ended up getting into a crash and all that. He was in the carnage. Multiple times I broke away in the first, few corners where I looked over my shoulder. I didn't have to go and block or anything. I was just big enough gap where I can just relax.
But there's one thing we kind of noticed throughout the event is that a lot of the top qualifiers didn't end up starting either front row, or they had actually, you started back in third. Some others finished outside of that. you kind of stayed away from the carnage, but was it difficult to maintain and be the leader throughout the heat races? Was that just due in fact to how good the quality of competition there was, or just kind of the way how things unfolded?
Right. I definitely thought that at the beginning of a few of the heat races that for sure the first one going out, we were too low on tire pressure.
Okay.
Oliver, he was super quick. You know, every single heat race, he was the guy to go and beat. You know, his short term pace was very strong, stronger than, you know, most of the people out on the racetrack. So after he went around me on the first heat race, I slowly started catching him towards the end. I'm like, hey, listen, we got to boost up the tire pressure and all that. But obviously, other stuff ended up unfolding. You know, the car started going to have issues compared to how it felt in qualifying. So we kind of dabbled into that, and you know, we made a couple of wrong changes on the go kart. But definitely, you know, it's pretty tough starting on first because you don't know how fast you got to go and break away from everybody. Everybody's chasing you. You're the guy they're going to go and chase down. You're not chasing somebody. So after, you know, lap 4 or 5, there's only 8 laps or 10 laps in the heat race that everything already settles, and then next thing you know, you are where you are. You know where you go and stand. So.
I hate to like pour back on because I do want to get your feel now on the way the main event rolled out. We talked about the fact that Bonilla kind of took the lead there, lap 9, early part of the race, pulled out. You guys, it just felt like the fight started getting kind of ugly, and I think it all happened in turn 3, right? The 2 hairpins. There were guys making moves on each other, and just you must have been frustrated watching what was happening and some of the moves you mentioned already, but some of the moves guys were making when it was so early in the race still.
Right. Yeah, no, I was a little bit upset because I don't, you know, I know when we set the go-kart up to have like a late pace run, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm not, you know, too worried about it. But I mean, I'm just getting pounced on like left and right, drivers just going crazy. You know, I'm like, this is a 25 lap race. I mean, it's a long time, you know. So I wasn't too worried about it at the first few opening laps. So when the stuff started to crack down, everybody's just driving, you know, so aggressive. And as soon as they slowly catch somebody, you know, by a half a tenth of a tenth of a lap, they just instantly pounce on them. You're like, hey, maybe their stuff's coming in, you know, you have no idea. But understandable on some aspects of what people were doing. But I know with, you know, some moves that, you know, that Oliver made, because I understood what he was going through, because he was in first, fell back to second, fell back to third, and then fourth. You know, when I went around him, and then he was just like, "Oh, I can't fall back anymore. I have to go now." So after that, I went to go and pass him. It was a third or fourth. I forget. I think it was the fifth. I'm not really sure. But coming out of there, going into corner 3, that's when I was on the inside of him, and he looked over, and Jones was like a car length and a half in front of him. He was like, "I have to go now." So very, very late move. Like that's when all the carnage just broke loose. When he went down the inside, I think he hit Jones and speared him in the middle of the corner. I almost spun out because he looked over to me. I went down to the bottom of the racetrack. I hit that curb, and it was just everybody stopped. And then Bonilla is just like looking behind, like, yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, and y'all went wide coming to go 3, and then y'all had to come right back together in 4. Right. And then Bonilla just was gone.
Exactly. Yeah. So after that, you know, I was like, okay, he's not too far away. I know I had really good pace. You know, once my car started to come in, you know, right around that time when all the corners went on, my car started to feel good. That's why I was making these moves. And then, you know, after that, when it kind of settled for a couple laps, I went and passed Jones for second. Then he instantly went and passed back in corner 3 and went in there super late. You know, when I was rewatching the video, now like his hands were in there, like sliding in the middle of a corner and everything. Just like went in there way too deep. We parked it in the center of a corner. And I'm like, great. That was the opportunity. If we had any opportunity, you know, that was the point in time where I'm like, wow, that was it. You know, we were already seconds away, but then after that, I'm like, we just lost, you know, a couple more seconds. So I'm like, the race is kind of over for that. I was over it. I was done, you know, because everybody wants to win, but now we have a chance to win. So I'm like looking behind. I'm like, well, who, you know, this is insane. What just happened?
And it ended up being this crazy scrap after that. You guys almost all flicked the switch and you went, all right, I got to finish second, or at least be on the podium, right? At that point.
I feel like everybody after that was like, you know what, we're racing for second, so I don't care if I barrier it or I barrier somebody. They didn't really care at that point in time.
True enough. Dave?
You got to feel good. The Speed Concepts racing crew did an amazing job. You had you and Alex Mercado as top qualifiers. You had, obviously, we'll talk about Turner Brown later as well, and then you on the podium. Noah Baker did well until he got injured in a wreck. So you got to feel pretty good about the pace that the entire team had at the SuperNationals this year.
Yeah, no, our whole team was just on point. You know, our junior and senior program was really good. Even in KA, we had a few drivers who were pretty quick, for sure. But I know Mercado, very surprising. Qualified pole. He was fast in practice and everything. He qualified on pole. I was like, no way. It was huge. I'm like, wow, that's insane.
Big
and I
for
ended
him.
up qualifying on pole. Yeah, super. It's huge for both of us. We just had our stuff rolling. I mean, it was pretty big for our whole team. And Turner Brown was up there. We're all fast going into qualifying.
So where do we go from here? We on a break now till the Winter Series? Are we going to see in the winter? I know you're not a full time guy, right? You drive when you can. You do some mechanic. Obviously you're wrenching when you can. What are the plans for 2024? Anything? Listen, every time you roll out, you keep showing that you're one of the top guys in the sport. I want to throw that out there.
Right.
Yeah, I know you don't have the budget to race all the time. You kind of race here and there, but every time you roll out, again, that's why we picked you. Again, Formal can yell at me all day long, but we picked you to do well because we knew you'd be in the hunt, especially in a big race. What is it? Is that going to pay off at all? You going to do some more racing next year?
Me and Mike, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but not too much for sure. I want to let everything kind of settle after these past 2 weeks have been crazy for the whole team, going back and forth. Their hands are so tied. But the Susan Winter Series, I know we have a couple of drivers that are going to go and be racing it in senior. I haven't really talked to them yet about what's going on with that, but probably USPKS we might be going and doing for me. But SCUSA for the Winter Series and the Pro Tour, I'm not entirely sure yet. So we're going to go talk to him the next couple of weeks, and we'll go and see.
Well, again, we've seen Speed Concepts Racing the last number of years be super strong, but man, it just seems like they are dialing things in big time over the last couple of years, and of course this year as well. But listen, Austin, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a Friday night, and we appreciate you taking the time. Get some sleep, get some rest. That was a heck of a week, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Austin. Austin Garrison, ladies and gentlemen, a perennial front runner here. Dave, you threw up we did the thing from Modesto there.
Yeah.
Was Garrison an S2 driver?
I forgot. Yeah, let's bring him back. Hold on. Let's bring him back. He's still here. Hold on. I forgot we were going to talk about. He asked about that, and when I texted him, he goes, "Are we going to talk about Modesto or Supernats?" I go, "We can talk about both."
So all the craziness of Formula One and racing, FP1 going to 4 or FP2, I guess, going at 4:00 in the morning. We've done that ourselves already. Were you S2 back then?
Yes. Yeah, I was at S2.
Did you win
that? Yep, I did. I won both days. Yeah,
That's
it was insane. Yeah, that race was insane for everybody. Insane.
Oh my goodness.
Having to go and change we took out that big curb, if I remember, in the middle of the race week. Whatever that giant curb that was there, we took that out. But definitely a lot of people going crashing and all that. How late it was going was insane. I thought obviously the track layout was awesome. It's the first time I've ever ran a street course race in my whole entire life, in shifter. But that was insane. We had drivers that we didn't want to go and run, the main event. So a lot of people were getting hurt and everything, but that race was crazy. For sure, it was crazy.
No doubt about it. Wow.
So he won both races in Modesto, which helped him go on to win the SCUSA Pro Tour Championship in S2 and finish second at the SuperNationals that year.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
We had 9 years ago.
Yeah,
that's
9
insane.
years ago.
Insane how long ago that was.
It's
oh
9
my
years
gosh.
ago.
I think about Campbell won, right? That Jared Campbell was the one who won in S2 that year. I don't know what happened. I haven't talked to him since probably then. I don't know what he's been doing. I don't know if you guys know at all.
No,
I haven't. I think he did a little bit of racing. I think he was on an Intrepid back those days. Wasn't he with Leading Edge Motorsports? Yeah, he was a good shoe.
Yeah, he was. He was super fast all year. He was super quick. He was the guy everybody got to watch out for. Instead of us, in OGP, he was the guy who was, really quick.
The OGP boys. We know that Kyle Kirkwood's watching. He's not calling you an old man right now. That's good.
No, I actually we were on FaceTime because I sent him a text message that I was going to do a little podcast with you guys, and he was like, oh, and he went and called me up, and he was like, oh, what are you doing? Blah blah blah. Well, I'm on, I'm about to go talk to Rob and David and everything. He's like, oh, tell him I said hi and everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome for sure. Well, yeah. So when all that stuff happened, David went back and looked at the archive and found the audio of the Modesto Grand Prix, that our EKN live audio, and posted up to the radio network. So I was listening to some of that. It was pretty. It was a lot of red flags. Let's put it that way.
The S1 main event, the last one of Saturday, ended at 3 a.m. in the morning. And then we came right back and did it again all the next day.
Yeah.
And I think we took a red-eye drive to the SFO airport and got there about 5 in the morning. So wild.
Yeah.
So, all right, little walk down memory lane for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. For sure.
All right, man. We'll let him get out of here. It's
thanks, Austin.
All right, take care.
9:00 on a Friday night. Again, I love the fact that the OGP boys still connect back and forth. I think Morgan Healy had a really good run there as well, running for OGP. I think she might have been on the podium one of the days.
Yeah, I have the results. I can look at it while we do some other stuff here. But
here's what we'll do first.
Well, I was going to say, like Michael D. Orlando was a winner there in cadet.
He broke one of the days because I was just listening to that today.
David Malukas won both junior races in tag junior. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the other younger categories. I think there was an S5, but I don't remember who was in it. I'll have to look back.
I don't remember either. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I just don't remember. I don't remember. We're going to go to a break.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on 9 years ago. Modesto Grand Prix. What a race that was. It was a Summer Nationals that year, right? And it was, again, it was supposed to be a night race, a Friday night and a Saturday night race, very similar to what Formula One's doing in Las Vegas. No track issues in terms of the track, but there was a big curb that they got rid of because guys were launching over the curbs and couldn't get it handled. We had cadet drivers just not even lifting into corners and wrecking, and the barriers, the shape of the barriers they got, you would ride up on them. That was of all the issues that happened. Although
that's a whole nother podcast. Like we could do
5,000 to 10,000 people there.
We could do a 30 for 30 on this, right?
I like that. That's coming. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back after this quick break. If you want to get better, you have to race against the best. And the best come to race with Superkarts USA. In 2024, Superkarts USA is shaking things up, both with their Winter Series and their 15th edition of the Pro Tour, which will focus solely on the East Coast for the first time. The Winter Series will kick off at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex on the January 12th to 14th weekend, and the 2-event, 4-race series will cap off at the Orlando Kart Center on February 9th to the 11th. The SKUSA Winter Series program is designed to lead into the Pro Tour and gives drivers moving up in a category the chance to get acclimated to their new classes or simply shake off the rust from the off-season. The Superkarts USA Pro Tour will kick off its 2024 schedule back at the Orlando Kart Center on May 8th to 10th with the Winter Nationals, while the 15th annual Spring Nationals will be SKUSA's first visit to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati on the June 14 to 16 weekend. The season finale, the Summer Nationals, will return to Newcastle Motorsports Park on July 26 to 28. Information on the 27th running of the sport's biggest race, the SKUSA SuperNationals in Las Vegas, will be released next year. Head to www.superkartsusa.com to learn more. Check out any major national karting event, and what's the common thread? Speed Concepts Racing. Up front, in every class, every weekend. The Speed family has been at the forefront of American karting for over 25 years, and Speed Concepts Racing is the sole dedication of Father Mike Speed and his multi-time championship-winning son Alex Speed. This program is all about passion for the sport and a dedication to winning. They know how to get it done. If you're a senior driver ready to put yourself amongst the best in the country, Speed Concepts Racing is the program for you. We can win the big races. You just need to be in the seat. The Speeds program has delivered time over time in the junior classes as well, helping to elevate a long list of young drivers from mid-pack to potential race winners. Speed Concepts Racing has the perfect equation of coaching, driver development, and technical knowledge to elevate your program. Arrive and drive opportunities are available for the remainder of the 2023 season, and we're locking in seats for 2024 as well. If you're ready to take your career to the next level, contact Speed Concepts Racing through email at speedconceptsracing@gmail.com. Welcome back to our second edition of our debrief for this year's Superkarts USA SuperNationals. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. Great to have both Remu Rashidi and Austin Garrison join us after both those drivers making to the podium in massively huge categories, both of them having great weekends. And again, like I said, for a guy like Remo who doesn't race a lot, we've seen him through the years. Then Austin, who doesn't get a chance to come, he's kind of in and out. But when he does, he's always up front. I don't care if he's driving a Briggs 206 or if he's in a shifter or he's in a single speed. He's always right up front. Again, one of the legends of the sport for sure over the last number of years. Let's jump in, David. Again, this is the race report. We got a couple categories still to go. What do we got? We got K100 Senior, Junior, and X30 Junior coming still. So 3 more to wrap up. Not sure if we're going to see Turner Brown. He obviously doubled up. We'll talk about that He's on his way to Las Vegas right now. If he lands and gets a chance to come on, we'll have a chance to get Turner on here. It'll be a while from now, Phil, still, because we got to jump right now into KA100 Senior. Here is the headline for KA100 Senior: a second straight for Rivera in his SuperNats Senior debut.
Yeah, KA100 Senior, the biggest category of the event. And so we knew the fireworks were going to be big and massive and exciting in this category. And it started off with qualifying. We had Aiden Rudolph putting down fast lap of the session, a 48.109, 27 thousandths quicker than Fernando Lequi. Chase Jones running under the Rock Island Grand Prix scholarship, essentially to winning the King of the Rock event there to go race Supernats, ended up in the third spot with, again, another senior rookie, Jesus Vasquez Jr., getting another top 5 in qualifying with fourth there. And then Harley Keeble, a number of drivers or a number of predictors putting Keeble towards the front, was in the Fast Five. So heading into the heat races, again, 5 different winners in 6 heat races. So it was, again, a widespread of talent up front. And again, like we said, and we continue to say, the heat races showed that this racetrack is raceable. It produces great racing. And we saw that throughout the heat races where guys were elbows up going at it. Vasquez and Jones came out the winners in the opening round. Keeble Rivera, Ernesto Rivera, the senior rookie, coming up from junior after running junior all season long. Now only I think it was his third weekend in senior competition. Fourth weekend, maybe.
Probably. Third or fourth, yeah.
So Keeble Rivera picking up the wins in Heat 2. And then Heat 3 was Race Liberante and Rivera. Liberante, Jones, the MPG crew, those guys were Batman and Robin all weekend long.
They were on fire.
They were up front all weekend long, no doubt about it. So set it up this way for the main event. So you had Rivera on the pole with his 2 heat wins and a runner-up to be able to start alongside Chase Jones on the front row. Row 2 was Donovan Bonilla, who, again, kind of like Remo was talking about, was a quiet top 5, did a 6th, 2nd, and 7th. So he was 3rd overall. Chase Hand 4th. Another one that was kind of quietly there. He actually qualified 24th overall.
Yeah, they had to dig. We talked about in the broadcast. Hand had to dig in the GFC. He was the lone GFC in K100 Senior
and X30 Senior.
And so he had to dig. They had no data to go off of. And the fact that this is where he started, kudos.
And then Oliver Calvo, 34th in qualifying, ends up starting the main event in 5th. So again, another driver making their way up. But then you had Paulie Massimino 6th, Aiden Rudolph falling back to 7th, Colin Lloyd in 8th, Peyton Phillips 9th, and Vasquez 10th. So a lot of drivers there. And then drivers from starting outside of the top 10 made their way towards the main event, towards the front in the main event, which was a wild one.
Yeah, obviously out of the gate, Rivera able to get the early lead from the pole. We saw a lot of polsters able to lead, even though there was they would get in there and stand on it because there was a lot of bumping and running, guys trying to push guys through. But the one thing about turn 1, you could run a later apex or an early apex, and run way wide and still maintain your speed and be the first guy into turn number 2. We saw a lot of that. So Rivera was able to come out of the gate, but there were guys that lined up and were coming forward. Chase Jones was so good on the weekend. I think he was, in talking to him afterwards when he didn't win, I think he was super disappointed because he really felt like I think he had the package to win. And the other guy that I didn't pick, and I probably should have because he's always up front in this category, former winner, was Paulie Massimino. He immediately got himself into the fight as well. So that they were kind of the early guys, I think, to watch, right?
Yeah, they were. And, Jones and Massimino, the more experienced guys in the field, they hooked up. They essentially got out to the first 2 positions and pushed away. It was Jones up front, Massimino second, and they just locked up. And they were like, let's go. Yep. Kind of like how Garrison probably wanted it to work out in the X30.
And Rivera gone backwards a bit.
And Rivera actually fell back to 5th at one time. Rivera actually worked his way forward up into the 3rd spot, but he was just super quick. Was able to run down the top 2 drivers and essentially got into the lead on lap 18. And then it was just chaos the last 2 laps.
And what you would have expected out of a KA 100 senior category, especially when things stacked up like they did. Again, this racetrack, Austin talked about it, and so did Ramo. there was such what you had to go way wide to set up for the corners, which is just. And I knew when I did the track walk, the live track walk on Facebook, I'm like, this is wide entries, and every time you have to have a wide entry, you open the inside. So if you're trying to run that big line to try to get the exit speed, there were guys coming in, and that Austin talked about the fact that he was making a move. He was trying to make a move on Oliver Hodgson. Hodgson was making sure it didn't happen, so he had to use Jones as the kind of the wall on the outside. That's the kind of craziness that we had, and that, David, was the last 2 laps.
Yeah, and then Rivera went defensive. It's to take away that opportunity. Went defensive. That brought everybody else back in because the last 2 laps, it was probably one of the 2 slowest laps of the entire race because everybody's trying to find a way by. And Rivera just played it really well. Was able to hold on, not allowing anybody to get ahead of him. Ran defensive line good, and again, just a little bit of chaos. 3 wide in turn 3, 3 wide in turn 4, 3 wide going into 5. It was kind of
David, as that fighting was happening, we always hit who the guys that were coming next. It was Brandon Lemke. Lemke was like he was like 3 seconds back.
Yeah,
with I want to say 4 laps to go or 5 laps to go, and he just kept digging. They kept fighting, and all of a sudden he was in the middle of the scrap as well.
Yeah, it was right there. So ended up being at the line. Rivera taking a second SuperNationals victory after winning the X30 Junior category last year, winning by just over a tenth with Chase Jones in the second spot, Massimino in third. Lemke, as you said, on the Gallard for Team FMS, was able to get up into the 4 spot at the end. And then I forgot who finished 5th. I have a note here I didn't say. So Vasquez actually crossed the line in the 5th position, but a penalty dropped him down, and that moved Oliver Calvo into the 5th spot on the podium.
I know when I talked to Chase Jones afterwards, we were walking over to the podium, and I said, dude, well done, second. I know you wanted to win. He goes, yeah, I really wanted to win, but to be honest, I'm just glad it's over. Because it was such a – listen, those KAs were ripping at the end of the straightaway. Like these guys were and they were just what I loved was they were kind of going through that kink. Everybody's on the brakes already. Kind of the rotation was already happening. You're almost like kind of backing it into the corner, right? And through. Yeah,
I'm going to share our onboard with Chase Jones on Wednesday, just so everybody can go to and check that out. But it was, I was told 18,000 is what the KAs were turning on at the end of the straightaway.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. All right, then. Why not? Do we want to talk predictions? I sucked hard on this one. It was bad.
You talk about it while I type this up.
All right. You type this up. Guys, if anybody wants to chat a little bit more, feel free to come on and chat with us.
Yep.
Any questions, whatever it may be, comments, whatever. We have a couple guys that were liking it. Jeff Souza was looking for the Master Shifter, K100 Master in both cadet categories. We did that in the first show. So if you haven't, you can go back and watch that on YouTube. That's available there. Why was I so bad?
You only had one top 5 finisher.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps it because you didn't go
veteran. Top 5 guy?
You're the only one was Rivera.
I picked Rivera. Yeah. So. Yeah. Paulie Massimino let me know what he thought about me not picking him.
You can say it if you want. It's up to you.
I'm not going to say
it. It was a 4-letter word.
He whispered something in my ear.
That is the greatest. I know we talked about
Paulie came over so
polite and just, yep. And the great part about it is you guys were teammates at Cup Karts. So
I know. We pitted side by side. Yeah, I should have picked him just for that.
So we'll talk about Nate because he actually had more points than you. Because he had one driver in the top 5, but picked them correctly. That was Brandon Lemke in the 4th position.
Okay.
So I had Lemke finishing 2nd. But I had him in my top 5. I also had Paulie Massimino in my top 5. I also had Ernesto Rivera in my top 5.
Okay.
So I had 3 drivers in the top 5, but I did pick Paulie Massimino correctly in the 3rd spot.
And I'll say this again. Yes, I'm feeling like I'm not going to come out even in 2nd in this deal. We all blew ourselves out of the water from what we did last year. Last year was embarrassing. Literally, our picks last year.
You keep saying this to make yourself feel better, don't you? Right?
I'm not talking about you. Me.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. I felt so good on Super Sunday. I'm like, I'm picking it. I'm making stuff happen right now. And dude, you guys were just killing it. It was good.
I was worried early on, but yeah. This one was
for the amount of bullshit we got, people slagging on us that we didn't pick Formal. I'm like, man, we did really good overall.
We did really well. Did really well. So yeah,
All
that was predictions in K100 senior. So yeah, again, great. It was a great race. Crazy to see Ernesto Rivera pick up a second. I don't know if we're going to see him next year. Obviously, he's going to be doing a lot of car stuff, so I would expect maybe Supernats, if anything at all.
Maybe. I don't know though. I don't know. I don't know that we'll see him again. We'll see. I think they'll be focused on cars. Spanish F4 is what I'm hearing. A very, very talented young driver for sure. So yeah, again, Rivera again. But listen, again, how many guys, David, have gone junior to senior with race wins? Right?
Yeah, not very many.
Not very many.
Yeah, that's a good question to check out.
Yeah, do one junior 1 year, one senior the next year. We'll dig in on that one.
We've seen some cadet junior drivers do that, but not too many.
As a rookie senior, right?
Yeah, as a rookie senior, not too many.
Pretty impressive. We know the guys have won in their final years of junior. You know, whether it was a Jeremy Fletcher, the guys that have won their final year. But anyways, let's all right, break. Come back. KA100 Junior up next after this. Stay with us. More to come. The new face of competitive karting in the Pacific Northwest region is RaceLab. The full-service karting operation is located at the state-of-the-art Kartplex facility in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, providing everything you need to hit the track or put yourself in a successful driver development program. RaceLab is the official North American distributor for the TB Kart chassis brand, providing the full range of models from kid kart to shifter kart. Villeneuve Racing Karts is their flagship product, available only through RaceLab. The brand carries the name of Formula One champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Jacques Villeneuve, with each model produced by TB Kart. Kartplex, the home of RaceLab, is situated on the grounds of the Area 27 Motorsports Park. From full arrive and drive TB Kart rentals to leagues and competition karting, the facility provides a new home to developing the future stars of motorsports, all beginning at Kartplex with RaceLab. Follow RaceLab on social media on Facebook and Instagram, or load up their website at www.theracelab.ca to learn more about TB Kart and Villeneuve Racing Karts. RaceLab. Race with us, win with us. It all started in my parents' garage. That's the foundation for MPG Motorsports, which grew from a small home garage in Indiana into one of the top race teams and kart shops in the industry. A true passion for motorsports runs deep in the DNA of MPG, which has developed strong connections within karting. Now based at the Whiteland Raceway Park in central Indiana, MPG Motorsports offers a wide range of opportunities through its race team while providing a full-service kart shop as an official dealer for the Kart Republic brand. The MPG Motorsports race team is led by ownership partner and karting champion Chase Jones and provides full trackside service and driver development. Be part of the MPG program at the USPKS, Stars Championship Series, and Route 66 Sprint Series events with arrive and drive opportunities available at those programs, as well as at the Whiteland Club races this season. A new 3,500 square foot shop is now open at the Whiteland Raceway Park in Whiteland, Indiana, and is the new home of MPG Motorsports. This new headquarters will provide local and regional racers with a full-service race shop that provides a wide range of parts and supplies to racers, including the full chassis line of the Kart Republic brand. For more, head to mpg-motorsports.com and follow us on social media. Let MPG Motorsports take your motorsports career in the direction of your choice. Two more categories still to go as we're back here in this edition of the Debrief. We'll go KA100 Junior. We'll go X30 Junior. We'll wrap things up with the Paddock Pass, Constructors Championship, tally up the horrible predictions, and then, of course, wrap things up with the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. Let's jump in to KA100 Junior, and here's the headline. Brown holds on to on-track win after penalty reversal.
Yeah, at KA100 Junior, the second biggest category of the week, and it was Enzo Vidmontien scoring fast time in qualifying at 48.881 to edge out Isaac Malcutt by 53 thousandths of a second. Diego Ardiles in third, Oliver Weldon fourth, and Alex Mercado in the Fast Five. This category, we saw Vid Montien win his opening 2 rounds of heat races, so essentially was putting him in the catbird seat to retain the pole position. Isaac Malcutt and Turner Brown picking up wins in those races as well. But we did see Brown pick up a second heat win. So again, started looking at Brown, that you could be a possible contender. Again, qualified 6th, just outside the Fast 5. And then Garzone picking up a heat win as well, too. So again, 4 different winners in the 6 heat races in this category. Brown was actually the driver to be on the pole position, had his 2 heat wins and a runner-up. So that put him ahead of Garzone, who had a 3rd, a 2nd, and a win. Vid Montien was scheduled to start 3rd, but was removed from the event prior to Sunday's activities, and it was due to an off-track incident. Aside from that, we don't know a lot of more details other than that. It was a sportsmanship situation. So Vid Montien was supposed to start 3rd, so that moved everybody up into a different position. That put Charlie Smith in the 3rd spot with Keegan Kaminsky 4th, Oliver Weldon 5th, and then Isaac Malcutt in 6th. So that was the first 3 rows going into the main event.
So things get rolling. Obviously, we talk about Turner Brown coming out of the gate very strong. Garzone was right there, the Orsalon Racing driver. And the other driver that joined him was one of the guys I picked. And he was having an overall good weekend. And that's Keegan Kaminsky for GFC. Coming out of the gate, slotted in a little 3-driver breakaway. But David, as we know, last lap's always going to be crazy. In the end, this was a really, really wild finish.
And it was a good race up until that last lap because, again, all 3 drivers led at one point. They all showed the way. They're all kind of sizing each other up. Nothing too crazy, but they were able to keep themselves away from the rest of the group. And so we knew it was going to be go down to the last lap. Ended up being Garzone leading, going down into the final corner. As they entered the corner, he ran a little bit of a defensive line, but not all the way down, just left just enough room for Kaminsky to go inside. But as he was doing that, the yellow flag was being displayed for a cart on the exit that was sitting on the racetrack. Now, I don't think there was a driver on the racetrack. I think it was just a cart, but a yellow flag was displayed. Kaminsky
was on the entry, right? It was deep on the entry, right?
Exit.
On the exit?
Exit point.
I got to go back and look at that.
In the barrier, you could see it.
Okay, go back and look.
So yeah, as they made the way through the exit, Kaminsky completed the pass. But at the same time, Turner Brown went into the corner as he normally did with, as you talked about, that wide berth into the corner and was able to carry the momentum and keep it to the inside and essentially drive fast around both of them on the exit of the corner on the way to the checkered flag and was able to reach the checkered flag first by 83 thousandths of a second. Ahead of Garzone. I think Kaminsky still was second.
Kaminsky might have been in second. No, Garzone. No? Yeah, Garzone, right?
I think Kaminsky crossed the line second. That's what I didn't pull up yet. So that's what I'm looking at.
So I'll just say, for those of you tuning in, and if you weren't trackside, obviously you may have saw on the
Kaminsky crossed the line second. They
brought essentially 10 carts up to turn 1 at the end of the race. And then at that point worked on pushback bumpers, the occasional on-track video shot that they wanted to get the best top 5 they possibly could before tech, right? That was kind of what they
correct.
So
and this was the
time waiting for that.
And this was the first a race main event of the day.
Yeah, first race on Sunday. That's right. Yeah. So Dave, what happened? What happened to Turner Brown?
Essentially,
for starters,
like you said, the penalties. So Brown crossed the line first, but received a pushback bumper penalty. That promoted Garzone to the lead because Kaminsky received a penalty for passing under a yellow flag, which, as we talked about, we all saw. So essentially, it put Garzone on the podium as the winner. Went through all the ceremony, but following the race, you have your protest, and they were able to deem that the pushback was engaged in a racing non-contact, unavoidable or avoidable. How would you word that?
Yeah. Unavoidable contact, I would assume.
It was, it wasn't.
Unavoidable.
It wasn't.
So it was,
yeah. So he wasn't hitting somebody to knock them off the racetrack. It was incidental contact that made pushed the bumper in. I think I saw it too. I think it happened on the last corner towards probably probably halfway through the race, where again, you're kind of sizing somebody up and you just clip their tire and it pushes it in. So that the reversal of the penalty put Brown on top of the podium, giving him the victory, moving Garzón down to second. Diego Ardiles was promoted to third, Weldon to fourth, and Stephen Miller into the fifth spot.
Indeed, that's so it was a big win for Turner Brown. Again, as David said, was the first race of the Super Sunday lineup. They went KA 100, junior, master, senior, and it was interesting about it was it kind of set the pace and the tone, David, for the rest of the day. Those three KA races were so exciting, so much great racing. That was the battle that we ended up having, and it played on from there, which is so good. And kudos again to Brown for getting that win, Turner Brown, and got things rolling for him as well. David, the cool factor, at least I won that class in the predictions.
Well, how do you determine a win?
Well, you were second. Nate and I tied for P1.
Okay, there you go.
You're still tied for P1.
You guys tied on a score total. I wouldn't say either of you won that, but it's you guys had the most points.
Had Keegan Kaminsky come home in second, I would have been rolling.
And technically, I would give it to Nate because he had the third place driver correct, but you had three in the top five, and you only had two. So
I would go with the guy that had three in the top five. Pick more guys.
I would go with the guy that predicted.
If it's against me, you're going to go for it. 100%.
Yeah. Hey, we all had Miller in the top five, so that was good. We got that correct. But neither of us picked him in fifth. You picked fourth. Me and you both picked fourth place correct. That was Weldon. So good on us for that. Yeah, and then the only difference was you had Turner Brown in the top five. We didn't. So there you go. That was the difference.
There you go. All right, folks, another break in the action. When we get back, we're going to stay with juniors. X30 Junior next up as we roll ourselves through to the end of this edition of the Debrief. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA SuperNationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. ...2019 marked a new era for the Kartlift brand. The company that Tim Coyne owned and operated since 2003, one with a long tradition of quality products for the karting industry, was purchased by Ted Fashing and his business, Stockholm Karting Center, in October of 2019. Stockholm Karting Center Inc. has added the Kartlift brand to their very successful Triple T Race Products brand that has been fabricating parts for the drag racing industry for the past 25 years. We're small enough where the owner answers the phone, and every call is important to us, but we're large enough to get the job done. We pride ourselves on the quality and personal customer service that we provide on the phone or at the track. Kartlift stands, as you know, can be found at racetracks all over the country. If you race alone, or if you're a parent with a cadet or junior driver, let our one-man winch lift make your race days easier. Position the hooks under the rear bumper, push the button, and your cart is raised into position and you're ready to go. We have traditional cart stands, single upright storage stands, Kartlift stackers for storing two carts at once, tire changers, and skid plate kits. Cart lift stands are available at the finest kart shops around the country, or you can order online at cartlift.com. For more information, give us a call at 877-777-8020. That's 877-777-8020. Get a cart lift and leave your crew at home. Welcome back to part 2 of our 2-part debrief for this year's Superkarts USA SuperNationals. Again, if you didn't get a chance to watch the first one where we had the Masters categories and the Cadet categories, that's available on YouTube. This as well will be available that you'll be able to watch that anytime on YouTube. If you haven't yet subscribed to our EKN YouTube channel, please do that. We would love you to do that. Lots more content coming out here throughout the off season as we look forward to essentially our next race, which we'll talk about in the EKN Trackside Live calendar. That'll be the SCUSA Winter Series event at Homestead. David, let's jump into X30 Junior. Again, our race report today brought to you by Sodi Racing USA. And here's the headline: Brown becomes third driver to double up on Super Sunday.
This was a category that had just 44 drivers in it. So one heat race all throughout the 3 different rounds and 2 different qualifying groups to hit the racetrack. And when it was all said and done, as we said earlier, Alex Mercado, the surprising fast time in qualifying, a 47.495 to secure the top spot ahead of Australian driver Brody Yendall. 34 thousandths was the difference between their 2 fast laps. Charlie Smith in third. So again, a good qualifying effort across the board for Charlie Smith.
Yeah, he was good all weekend.
Categories under the National Motorsports tent. His teammate Stephen Miller in fourth, and Diego Ardiles with another top 5 in qualifying. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you look at the kind of guys who were up front, and for a lot of time we saw the RPG guys were really kind of rolling for a bit there with Yendall and Ardiles, and of course you had the guys from Speed Concepts Racing, which were strong. It was a good mix, I think, up front of a number of the teams, but a lot of times you saw maybe 2 guys there, right? When we're talking about the cadets, it was the Bennett guys. It seemed like the teams that had at least 2 guys with the speed to be in that top 5 group.
That was kind of it. And again, we see that in a lot of the junior categories is teammates working together to try and keep together. Well, in the heat races, however, it was basically kind of a split up. There was a lot of different drivers mixing it in. Yendall was the driver to win twice. He actually won the opening heat race and the third heat race. He fell back to 5th in the second heat race. So that was won by Enzo Vidmontien, who qualified in the 7th spot. So again, a lot of shuffling around. You had Turner Brown sitting in 2nd and 3rd, and then added a 9th in his last heat race. Diego Ardiles did a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 3rd. So essentially that made him one of the top contenders going into the main event. But he actually ended up lining up 2nd as he had Brody Yendall, his RPG teammate, on the inside, and he was going to lead the field to the green flag. You had it was supposed to be Enzo Vidmontien, but again, as we talked about earlier, he was removed from the event on prior to Sunday's event. So that moved Turner Brown to 3rd, Charlie Smith to 4th, Stephen Miller 5th, and Augustus Toniolo into the 6th spot. So actually 3 RPG drivers within the top 6 at the start of the main event.
Yeah, let's talk about that main event a little bit too. Obviously, the RPG guys coming out of the gate quickly. They started on the front row, and they were quickly able to get in line and get rolling. So it was Ardiles actually went to the front at one point, and then Yendall, and then another one of the drivers from TB Kart USA and Race Lab was right there as well. Sasha von Padbash was right in the middle of the fight too. One of the brighter liveried cars who's kind of easy to pick up and to see as some of the other cars. But then, of course, David Turner Brown was right there as well, kind of buoyed off the success he had in KA 100. Junior, he was right out of the gate as well, a part of the lead group there too.
Yeah, the 4 drivers were kind of sizing each other up, but it looked to be the more aggressive one was Sasha van Podbosch.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a driver that wanted to get to the lead and wanted to get to the lead bad, and that actually cost him because it was lap 18. He was sitting 3rd. You had I want to say Yenda was leading, and I think Ardiles 2nd. However they were lined up, but both of those drivers were 1-2. And then Sasha was 3rd. As they went into turn 3, one of the RPG drivers tried to make a pass. Even though he saw it, he still went for it. And Sasha went inside both of those drivers hard into the curbing, clipped the curbing, cart was, I have a photo of it, was upside on its side, smashed into one of the RPG drivers. They pushed into the other one. This essentially allowed Turner Brown, like we saw in KA, but this was going into turn 3. He went from the outside to the inside and around the outside of all 3 of them into turn 4 and had the lead coming out of that corner with 1.5 laps to go.
Because if you push that wide coming out of turn number 3, you got to crank it back around 4, and he just pinched it and just rolled around the outside. It was it was very heads up, saw it all happening. There was aggression, right? And you wanted to be on the right end of aggression, and Turner was for sure there.
Yeah, so he took advantage of that and wasn't challenged. Was able to hold enough gap over the last lap and a half to reach the checkered flag by 0.6 of a second to gain his second victory on the day. Diego Ardiles, it was Sasha was the driver that crossed the line second, but he suffered a 3-second penalty for scrubbing tires. So that moved Diego Ardiles up into second. Yendo was third in the line. Yeah. But after tech was removed for a tech issue. So that's still, I think, pending right now, depending on SCUSA. So that moved Weldon up into third. Sasha fell back to fourth. And then Nick Eggleston finishing in the 5th spot.
Some pretty good action there. It looks like we may even have our guest coming in late. So he's just hanging out there right now.
Let's get to him.
You want to bring him right in?
We're going to bring him right in.
Here. All right.
Turner Brown, what's up, buddy?
We got to get his mic turned. There he is.
Oh, hi.
Turner, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just sitting down. I'm here in Las Vegas for the F1 race, so my apology if the sound's a little messed up, but yeah.
You sound fantastic, buddy. I'll just say this. So far, you're the winningest guy in Las Vegas. Let's not worry about the Formula One guys. You're the guy that had 2 wins. We just finished up wrapping up. Thanks for joining us. I know you were flying down there. Let me ask you first and foremost. Has it sunk in that you came to Las Vegas in the SuperNats and won both races in junior?
Yeah, it was definitely insane. Like I was going crazy with my mom, my dad. It was definitely for sure an experience that I'll never forget. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, I didn't even think I was going to be on the podium, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, David Cole picked you to be on the podium, so
I picked him, and Nate picked him to win. So we kind of picked you to win the X30.
That's 2 years in a row now that I've tried to that David's picked me on the podium, and I've tried to become it true. So yeah.
Hey, listen,
awesome.
Turner, we just talked about that X30 junior race where you guys were the battle up front. Do you recall the guys up front of you getting into it and that over-under you made in turn number 3 to be able to come out with the race lead there late in the run?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I knew that something was going to happen. And just like in KA, I was waiting for that last corner. I was like, last corner, just wait, be patient. But I knew that something was going to happen because the racing was getting a little bit aggressive. I saw the RPG boys fighting a little bit, making moves. So I thought, all right, this is my time to go and just hold it on from there.
So what did you think over those last couple of laps? Were you starting to listen to the engine a bit? Were you starting to get nervous?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, always, I just get calm on the last 2 laps. I like being in that spot where really I'm way more calm than the start of the race or any point in the race, in my opinion. So, yeah.
The racing in K100 Junior and X30 Junior was absolutely awesome, especially when you guys kind of kicked things off on Super Sunday. When you rolled in there, the first time you got on the racetrack, did you feel comfortable on the track from the get-go?
No, I was for sure not quick on Wednesday. But the team did a great job, adapting to it. We worked hard, and, I mean, we ended up getting a lot of hardware, so.
Did you like the track itself?
It was interesting, but, I would say it was okay, but it wasn't one of my favorites. But I liked it. It was okay.
We've talked to a couple other guys here today, Ramo Rosicki and Austin Garrison. You obviously know Austin. Did you guys do a lot of work on your go-kart, or was it pretty close when you started, or did you have to really dial things in over the week?
Yeah, we did a lot of work, I think. I mean, we tuned the engine perfectly. We had a few sections where the engine wasn't running perfect. But the engine was extremely good in the final, especially with the speed lap power and the P1 engines. It was awesome. But, yeah, I think we made a lot of car changes, and they ended up being right.
So we're a week, well, not quite a week on, 5 days on from the win. What are your thoughts right now? You're still pretty pumped from having won SuperNats?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to forget it. Even if I don't end up becoming a racer driver when I'm older, I'll always have those trophies either in my basement or something. But I will never forget it. It was an unforgettable moment. And I remember being in the trailer after getting like my driver coach Austin, Alex Speed, sorry. I will never forget the moment of me just breaking down on the stairs in the trailer after he told me that the penalty was overturned.
And that's a crazy thing too, because that came before you ran X30 Junior, did it not?
Yes, it did. It came like 20 minutes before I headed out to the grid. So I came out there, no pressure. Like, I've already got what I wanted. Let's just send it.
So, and let's talk about that one. The reason probably why it was so great for you to get that win was from what happened last year, right? That the fact that you won on the racetrack. Talk a little bit about that from last year.
It definitely took a swing in my confidence, but I knew that I had a fresh start coming in junior. And honestly, I couldn't describe it. It felt so nice to just know that, all right, I did it. I mean, I came back, won it, got some redemption. And yeah, now that I have the trophy sitting in my room, unlike last year, it's definitely a whole lot better.
Let's wrap things up with this. Obviously, one of the cool factors is that you're with Speed Concepts Racing, right? They're big on driver development. Austin Garrison's there, Alex Speed's there, so many other guys that are there. Can you talk a little bit about what they've done for you, especially over this year, because you've really kind of rock and rolled all year long. What have they done for you confidence-wise and driving-wise?
I mean, they have changed my career. I mean, they have taught me so much stuff. They've been a family to me. They're an awesome team. Like, ever since I started in Utah a few years ago, like arrive and drive, from the get-go, it was just like I was from the back, and NOLA, and then at Utah I was fighting for top 10s. I was like, wow. And they definitely make a huge difference. They're coaching me to the best of their abilities. It's working so much, and yeah, they're definitely the best team out there in the market, in my opinion. And yeah, they just helped me so much, and I really appreciate it from the whole team.
It's interesting. I'd ask you if you're excited for 2024, but I think that's probably a given.
Yeah, for sure. Excited, going for championships next year. Yeah, definitely just gonna rock and roll next year. Try and do what I've been doing this year, but even better.
David, any questions for this kid, or are we gonna let him go watch F1?
Well, first, yeah, what's the plan for the weekend? Do the F1 drivers know you're there? And
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're focused on their race, but yeah, I'm just super excited to go watch something that's been a dream of mine since I've heard about it. I mean, over the show a few years ago, but yeah, I'm super excited for the weekend. It should be fun.
Well,
Perfect.
Turner, thank you so much, buddy, for taking the time. I know you just flew in, just got to the racetrack. Go enjoy yourself. Congratulations on a great SuperNats.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right.
Thanks, buddy. Turn around right there. What more do you want?
That's so awesome. Yeah. I mean, he had a great view too. Did you see the Vegas backdrop behind it? That
what
was
a great, such a quality young man. And Dave, we kind of saw him mid-season, right? Kind of come on strong, was being there, was able to get the win at the Summer Nats. And man, this kid's got a bright future.
And that's it. Like, he started out the year, we thought, there's a lot of drivers that come up from mini to junior that are, boom, they hit it right away. It took a little bit for him to get going, because really in the beginning of the year, we weren't really talking about him much.
Yeah.
And then there was that Summer Nats victory when he moved to X30 junior. And it was like, oh, it was almost like a wake up call. Like something switched with him and the Speed Concepts crew and everything. It just, boom, he's there. And then it helped him in turn, I think, in the 100cc stuff to get a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more deeper in the braking zones and stuff like that. So
all the confidence
overall,
too, right?
And the confidence as well, as you could see in he's very confident in the way he speaks. And I think he's very confident with the way he drives as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, Turner coming right in there. He immediately popped on. We brought him right on here. He nails the interview. Yeah, that was aces. That was fantastic, folks. One more break. When we get back, we're going to wrap things up with our paddock pass. Dave's got a couple of notes down here we're going to go through. We got a Constructors Championship. We'll look at the chassis that we're actually able to win in the 5 categories we talked about today. We'll go over the predictions, go class by class, and see how badly I lost. And then we'll look at the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. Nothing going until 2024, but it'll be a big year for sure once again. Stay tuned, folks. More to come after this break. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2023 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the brand new Tatis JR23. As the first step of the newly rebranded USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 16-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The USF Juniors champion will win a scholarship worth over $248,000, and the total prize fund will exceed $330,000. The series will also debut the new Tatis JR23 race car in 2023, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving on to the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the mind of the series promoters, and the USF Juniors car features a halo, and the races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. Welcome back to part 2 of our EKN debrief for this year's Superkarts USA SuperNationals, the 26th edition of the event, coming off a great interview with young Turner Brown from Speed Concepts Racing, live from the track in Las Vegas for the F1 event, and I hope he has a fantastic weekend. David, you got to think, you're cruising around Las Vegas. I was here a week ago, boys. I've won junior. Hey, where's Lance Stroll? Where's George Russell? Let's talk. I've won too. You guys have won this race. I've won this race in junior.
Well, to be honest, he's got 2 more wins than they do. So he almost has something on top of these guys. Now, Logan Sargent on hand, he has 2 wins at the SuperNationals, 1 in cadet, 1 in junior. So maybe those 2 could have a good photo together. We'll have to text him and see maybe if there's a way he can find Logan to be able to do that.
Well, listen, Kyle Kirkwood was watching. Kyle and Logan are good buddies. We need to get Kyle to get Turner and get Turner where we need to be in there right now for that photo, because I saw that Williams actually posted something out about Logan saying that he's had success in Las Vegas before. So
that's true. Yeah, he just did the what is that website? The Players Tribune.
Oh yeah,
I believe was the article, and they actually showed a photo of him during his karting days. I was upset it wasn't a SuperNationals photo, because it was talking about going back home in Vegas and how he's won there and stuff like that. But, they just didn't get a hold of us, I guess. We were too busy at the SuperNats.
We're pretty busy. All right, folks, let's go into the Paddock Pass right now. This edition of the Paddock Pass presented by Mega Power. For over 20 years, Greg Bell has been building race-winning power for kart racers. The name on this program, Mega Power. If you want to win shifter kart races, it's time to put Mega Power on your kart. Mega Power specializes in gearbox engines such as the TMKZ, Rock Shifter, and IAME Shifter, but with almost 3 decades of engine building experience, Bell develops winning motors for X30 and Mini Swift and everything in between. Increase your odds of winning in 2024 by calling Greg Bell today at 209-747-2613 to put Mega Power in your corner. All right, Dave, wrapping things up for this edition of the Debrief, let's have a look and chat a bit about the Paddock Pass. One of the key things, of course, brand new lot. We talked about it earlier here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're going to move to the back part of the racetrack for 24 and 25, but a brand new layout. And from the very get-go, when we first walked it in the first sessions, I talked to Ryan Norberg, and he's like, hey, the bottom line is it's something totally different. Like it or hate it, it's something different than we've had in years past.
It was, yeah. We talked about this yesterday, but again, we can talk about it for those who didn't watch. And it was different. It was a completely different track layout. Nobody had raced on something like this before. Nobody had a straightaway that was 1,400 feet long. So that was kind of the big thing. And again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'll kind of reemphasize it was a lot that they didn't really know what to do with. In terms of how to lay things out. So they tried something. They had the separate paddocks. This was a comment earlier. I wanted to wait till this point, but Richard Gutierrez said, what I missed was we couldn't hear one word of your commentary from our pit to the grid. So as you're walking from the B pit to the grid area, there's no speakers. There's nothing. You couldn't really hear it. So where you're at the Rio or even the other parking lot where we're at, there's speakers all around. But because there was an active road, they didn't have speakers over in that area. So, so that's something that SCUSA did miss. But again, when they're trying to focus on the on-track type scenarios. So again, that's just something that was missed. And there were speakers over in the other paddock. So there was that. But yeah, that was something that was missed.
One thing I'll throw out as well, and we didn't talk about it yesterday, Superkarts USA, David, adding 3 new members to their Hall of Fame as well during the opening ceremonies, and very well deserved, of course, starting with PSL karting with Dominic Lebrec and Stephane St. Charles. They've been part of the SCUSA program. I remember seeing them in 1999 or 2000, I think. We were at the Florida Winter Tour, which was SCUSA back in the early days of the Florida Winter Tour. They've been doing this for 24 years or something like 25 years. So shout out to both them. And like PSL karting literally has been one of those anchor teams over the last couple of decades, right? Of course, massive up in Canada. CRG for many years now, for the last number of years, have been kind of the North American, touch point for Birrell ART, and have done a tremendous job and just brought so many drivers through that program. So kudos to them, both well deserved. And then, of course, it's been a driver, number one, a SuperNationals winner, and then kind of the guy over in Europe representing, the U.S. as a factory driver for multiple manufacturers. And then now, of course, into his own GFC karting program, where he's, again, a key member and 100% focused on his team. Gary Carlton from GFC karting going into the Hall of Fame as well. And I think that was, huge for myself and Chris Ortenberger, who were part of the class last year, to see us followed up by Dominic, Stephane, and Gary. Come on, it says a lot. It's kudos, just a shout out to those guys here. It's not a racing thing. Perfect for the Paddock Pass.
Yeah, no, it was great to see them. Obviously, we kind of knew it. At least I knew about it because we had to kind of put up dummy Hall of Famers last year when we put both you and Chris in. So we knew this was in the works. It was kind of, we had to use their names last year as dummies, and it worked out well. Obviously, they knew going into to Sunday about it because they had to be trackside for the ceremony. So it wasn't quite the surprise like for you and Chris last year. But I think to honor, again, you have to do that because you see all the different Hall of Fames in motorsports and in all sports in general. You have to have the figures that have done a lot or mean something within the sport.
It's the history.
I think obviously PSL karting, you can't think of SuperNationals without them. They're always that front row spot. You always see them right there. You always see Dominic knee deep into getting his drivers quick, and you see Stephane there pumping him up the way he does so well. And so it's great to see them. And of course, Gary's been, since I've been working for eKarting News over the last 19 seasons, there's nobody like Gary Carlton. There really isn't. I mean, the driver that he is, and now the industry member that he is, it's just phenomenal to see. And so I'm excited to see what he's going to do for the next 20 years, 25 years, right? with the GFC brand.
He's in for the last 20 years, and there's still 20 to go. Like, that's the crazy thing about it.
For sure.
It's amazing, 100%. Another kind of a cool fact we really haven't brought up yet either is, and I know there was some issues, but man, you know what? With that racetrack, David, there wasn't a red flag. They didn't roll the ambulance. That's what, especially come wheel-to-wheel racing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The fact that there was no reds and the racing was clean. Some drivers made mistakes and there was wrecks in the barriers. We had one guy, who was it in Masters who flipped?
It was Kyle.
Kyle Yachinski comes into turn one, hits, does the full helicopter on the go-kart, back up onto the barriers. Crowd went crazy.
I don't know where I was standing, but I could hear the cheers of the fans from where I was standing over the engines.
So cool.
It was so loud. It was amazing. I'm like, what is going? I'm like,
he jumped up after.
Did Taylor Swift walk through the paddock or something? Like, what's going on?
Fully helicoptering, sliding.
He's doing this. He's pumping the crowd up.
It was
pretty awesome.
It was so good. Yeah.
If I were to wreck at SuperNats, I would do the same damn thing. I mean, because you're there. You're like, yes, let's pump it up. Like I screwed up.
If I were to wreck at SuperNats,
laugh at me.
I'd be like bent in like a beanbag, broken.
You kind of were when you did kind of wreck it there in one of the was it qualifying or the practice?
No, the practice before qualifying. A guy spun in front of me. So
that wasn't as dramatic and graceful like Kyle did though.
Mine was not ungrateful.
Yeah.
Graceful rather. All right, let's move into the Constructors Championship. We already talked about some of this other stuff yesterday. We can go back to that. Constructors Championship, again, 9 categories on the weekend. David, 5 brands all told?
5 brands, yeah.
How many all told? This is the 5
This is the total. This is the total right here.
Yesterday we did the 4. So 5.
Yeah, there were 4 different. There were 4 different winners last year, but
where'd they come from? Where'd the Cosmic guys come from? Wow.
So Cosmic picked up 4 victories out of the 9. So that's a big scoop. It's been a while since we've seen that, and really this was the lowest amount of chassis we've seen win at the Super. Hold on, I got it down. I think since 20. You go through the line. I'm gonna look at this.
So Cosmic winning the 4, as we know, with Rawls and Performance Group. Formal, Bonilla. Who else am I missing? Waters, and Rivera. That's it. Red Speed with a couple, courtesy of Turner Brown. Well done. Italkart with the win for Davide Foray. Bennick, of course, that tremendous run they had in the mini Swift category. Then Sodikart with the win. Somebody was going to win Sodikart and Micro, man. They had like 3 drivers in the lead 4. Battle out against drives. But yeah, so Cosmic, Red Speed, Italkart, Bennick, and Sodikart all with race wins.
So it was 2012, the last time we had only 5 chassis brands win. Yes, so it's been a while, and that was 9 classes that year as well. The lowest, I mean, that was back in 2004. We had 10 classes, and there was only 4 chassis brands that won. I mean, we could go to the beginning, but there were only 2 classes, and there was 2 chassis that won.
In 2000 and what was the one with 4?
Yeah, 2004.
2004.
So only 4 different brands won that year.
That was at the Rio that year, was it not?
That was the first year at Sam Boyd Stadium.
Sam Boyd.
That was
2002.
Come on, that was Jason Bowles. That was holding the trophy on the 50-yard line.
That's right. Yeah.
So Tony Kart was a winner. CRG was the winner that year.
Yeah.
Tony Kart. Hold on. Intrepid was the 3rd brand, and Top Kart was the other brand.
Top Kart. Who won on Top Kart?
2 of them. You had Jeremy Regal. No, sorry. Matt Kimball won K1.
Yeah.
And Kevin Casey won S3.
Wow. I forgot about that. That was the old S3 days. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go.
Beginning stages of it. Yeah.
Man. Let's roll into the predictions. Nate and I tied for KA 100 Junior at 5. Yep. X30 Junior, Nate won that one. That's essentially 2 for 2 for Nate. He won X30 Junior with 8 points. David, you won KA 100 Senior with 6. X30 Senior, you beat me by 1. 11 for Dave and X30 Senior. Pro Shifter, we did not do good in Pro Shifter. We did not rock in Pro Shifter. 3 for you in Pro Shifter. Overall, David Cole with the belt. 58 points. Nate Dean, though, probably like 4 times what he had last year. Did a great job with 45, and I to pick number 37, though, baby.
It's iconic, yeah, because you couldn't run it this year on track. You had to do it in your points.
That's
so when you look at it, I had 53% of my top 5s
Dude, that's ridiculous.
So again, you look at, you had 9 different categories. I had 24 drivers finish in the top 5 that I predicted to finish.
Well
there.
done. How many did I have?
You had 22, so it was good.
Yeah,
It was close.
I'm close. I just didn't have
Again, so 24 for me, 22 for you, 20 for Nate. So we had a lot of different drivers and a lot of correct top 5. It was picking them where they finished.
The fact that you and Nate each picked a class where you picked 4 of the guys in the right spots is ridiculous.
You are so butthurt. You just
I thought
this is amazing right here. This is amazing. This nose karting right here. This nose kart.
Your record against me is like 1-40 on the racetrack.
I said this head nose karting. I know where people are going to finish.
You didn't last year.
I think I need to get with Westgate next year and be the bookie and set the odds for Pro Shifter and X30 Senior. We need to. I think we've done that in the past before.
That'd be interesting.
I think we need to set that up.
Let's wrap things up, folks, and shut David down because I'm done with his voice. I've had to listen to it for so long. I'm done.
That was my throat.
I don't want to. At least my lips are finally not as dry as they were. My God, it was dry this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to really talk to the guy for like a couple of weeks, which is okay with me right now.
Can't wait.
EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar for 2024, brought to you by, of course, Rollison Performance Group today, folks. At the Rollison Performance Group, we strive for ultimate success. We're more than just an arrive and drive race team with countless wins on the national and regional level. Our focus is on complete driver development, and that's where the success is fueled. We combine one-on-one coaching, on-track instruction, and intensive data debriefing with unparalleled kart and engine prep. Our program will help you raise your game. We'll take you to the next level. If that's your goal, RPG needs to be your next move. Experience the Rollison difference. All right, guys. Again, Friday, November the 17th. We're essentially off for what, David? 6 weeks now, which is fantastic. Maybe, no, 6, 7, almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months,
yeah, we're back for the Superkarts USA Winter Series at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. Opening round of the Superkarts USA Winter Series, as I had said. Looking forward to getting back to that. It'll be a couple months off. Everybody ready to smell the 2-stroke again. We'll be like dying to get back to the track here in that rev. And then we go at it again a couple of weeks later, David. We head out to hang out with our buddies at the Challenge of the Americas. Andy Saisman and the crew making a lot of big moves to Challenge of the Americas program this year. A new tire, changing up the classes, the categories. A lot of excitement around that program. There's no doubt about that right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And they're going to get the support from the teams and the sponsors that they've had before. So it's kind of like a quick shift, but not a big change. But the biggest change, obviously, is the tire brand that they'll be running.
Yeah.
They're still going to have the rock engines involved with it, but they're also going to have more IAME category or engines part of the classes that they're running, and also bringing in KZ as well. So that's going to be an interesting shift, and obviously we'll have more about that in the coming weeks as we'll get with Andy. They'll be opening up registration and getting more details out of that program. So
yeah, we need to do a face-to-face with him to really break that down.
That's going to be a face-to-face we're working on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because again, very much like the OKN category last year, which was the change. So everybody was interested in that. They're going to return with that as well, but changing to the Vega tire. So I got to think, man, that OKN on sticky tires, that's going to be quite interesting.
Let's get at it. Yeah. And again,
especially at Tucson.
I was just going to say, it's at Muscle One Honda Circuit in Tucson, one of the best racetracks in the country. I love that track.
Yeah. So I would expect to see, maybe, like Remo was talking about, maybe getting their program down there. So maybe we get some of those Talcart drivers in the OKN category.
Well, you're going to see GFC. We know they're coming.
Yep.
Greg Bell told me Leading Edge is coming. You're going to have Speed Sense. You're going to have Nash, Ron White, pulled Catalyst down.
Full forward direction motorsports in Colorado's 100%. On board as well already. So again, very many, probably the Emmy kart as well. Ruthless karting.
Yeah.
So it's again the same players that have been part of the challenge for the last number of years. It's just again kind of Andy's, obviously making the switch to the tire, but opening up to, again, IAME drivers, mini, micro, junior, everybody come race.
Been a good show, folks. Almost 2 hours. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate that. A Friday night
delight
primetime show. Dude, I'm at the end of listen, this has been a long
This is late for you. This is late for you.
Not the fact it's even late. It is actually late for me. the simple fact that we've been going at it for how long? This is I'm done my 29th weekend. I have one more trip to do. USF Pro tire test, the Continental tire test at Sebring on the 11th to 12th of December. That's my last trip. 30 or 31 trips this year. I'm ready for a break. I know you are for sure.
Yeah, break down, and got Thanksgiving next week, so that'll give us a little bit more time to recoup. We'll have some other stuff.
Put the lawnmower in the garage.
I already did that actually.
Bring out the snowblower.
Whenever I go to SuperNats, it snows, so I made sure I had that ready to go in case. But it's been great weather here, but the cold stuff's coming. So getting ready to hunker down for winter and get our escapes when we go to Florida and California.
Just a quick thank you, David, to you, Nate, and Betsy. You guys obviously killed the coverage this year. From the previews to the outlap to everything that Nate and Betsy did with the social media throughout the week. We had great social media coverage, a lot of great input. I had a bunch of people message me throughout the week. Obviously, being able to, there's the kart chaser stuff, the we do our stuff, and it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, which is great. And it just provides levels of coverage that we haven't seen in the sport before. Time to take a break. I would say time to take a break, but we got a ton of stuff to do because when we go into December, obviously after Thanksgiving, that's a time that we can push. We can do a lot of great off-season stories. We're going to bring that roundtable in we talked about, and there's going to be a lot more content coming on YouTube for sure.
One final thing. Way to go, David. Beat Rob again.
Thanks a lot, Gary. And my good friend Gary Collin throwing me under the bus.
You got to end the SuperNats with that.
Whoa. Oh, he beat me again. You beat me on the racetrack, and you beat me with things. I can live with that. All right.
And I beat you in predictions last year, too. So
I don't think I've ever beat you in predictions.
I think the early years, maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, these aren't the early years anymore.
Good point.
Folks, thank you so much. And again, this was my 26th SuperNationals, 25th year for Howden Media Group. David Cole getting ready to enter his 20th season at the helm of ekartingnews.com. We thank you so much for tuning in. As always, big shout out to everybody from Superkarts USA. Did a tremendous job. It was fun to work with the guys from Kart Chaser as well throughout the week, and that was a lot of fun as well. Again, 2024 just around the corner, unless somehow I decide I'm going to run Daytona and a Margay. You never know. That could still happen. Not quite sure.
Winter Nationals for Cup Karts.
I can't do Winter Nationals. I need
you got the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I already got something going. I also need the full break. So bottom line, all you guys that tuned in, who are watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please do that. Lots more social media to come. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. On behalf of David Cole, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.